Coming to you live from just outside the swamp of the nation's capital. Get ready for invigorating talk, commentary, and debate on the issues affecting your life. Grab your favorite drink. It's Nightcaps with Nate. Now, here's Nate.
Hey, welcome back to Nightcaps with Nate. I am so excited to have my sister with me as our new permanent co-host, Natalie Damaris. Welcome to the team. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm the Bernie supporter of the family, and
every family has one.
Yeah. I don't know. Dan might be one, but I'm from Valparaiso, Indiana. I am married and I have 3 children. My husband works for the Department of Labor and he works out of Chicago, which brought us here. I was from West Michigan, and now I live on the Indiana-Illinois border, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. She was in Grand Rapids, which was more the conservative side of the state, the nicer side of the state. I don't think that there's any...
It's the nicer side.
It is nicer because it's conservative. But anyways, I digress. We will get more into that. All right. So let me get into our first theme for today is going to be the coronavirus is spreading. So it says that your waiter cannot stay home to stop it. Got that. It's not really the point of this. My point is, should we value them more on a policy level with higher wages? Like forced.
Go ahead.
Like forced, like a bigger minimum wage.
I think that they should receive a hazard pay right now. Absolutely. This is a time when, these workers have been undervalued for forever. And this is a time where all of us, rich and poor, we're dependent on them. And I think that they should be compensated for it. Absolutely.
Well, other countries like New Zealand and stuff, they have decided to actually postpone their planned minimum wage increases because the economy is such in the tank. We know that when we come off this thing, where it should be a very quick bounce back, but we do know that it's going to be hurting these business owners as it is. How are you going to tell a mom and pop with thin margins, hey, you all of a sudden got to pay $15 an hour?
Well, if a mom and pop can't afford it, I think that we should. Why can't we give a stipend to these people?
Who's
we? Can't we? The government. Why can't we send a stipend to the hazardous work? I mean, the thing is in the United States we have this. Everybody's real excited right now because everybody gets $1,200. Everybody their kids get $500 because everybody's really excited about this one-time payment. In Denmark, in Canada, and in other countries, they are sending out monthly stipends to the people during the coronavirus. How come the United States, we're supposed to be the richest nation. How come we just can't do that? How come we can't help people out?
Well, I think that's misguided to think that you could compare Denmark or Sweden or any of these countries to the vast United States. Canada, and then they have the population and the size of one of our states. Geographically, Canada is much larger than just a state. But why can't the states do that? Why does the federal government have to be the ones that always has to get involved with states matters? Because originally, under our federalist system, it's not even originally, we haven't changed the Constitution, at least I haven't checked. Why aren't the states doing that? And then if people...
Why don't the states do it? If this is if it's so well run where the states should be doing this, how come the states aren't doing it? What's wrong with the system?
Well, that's I could go down with that because I think most businesses would probably leave that state for a lower tax state. It's kind of a double-edged sword. I think as the labor market has tightened, wages have shot up for these fast food workers. A lot of places, Chick-fil-A here, even in Jefferson County, West Virginia, is paying I think $14 an hour. People love working there. They know that they're taken care of. If their food establishment shuts down,
getting taken care of.
Say again.
$14 an hour is getting taken care of?
Yeah, because a low-wage job was never meant to be your career.
A living wage, supposedly. It's still not in equilibrium with the market and the demand and market.
But a minimum wage job was meant for 16-year-olds, not 30-year-olds trying to survive on it. Well, so to force them, all you're going to do is put them out.
Why call them 16-year-olds and why treat them like they're nothing and say things like that? When full well you're not 16 and you're going down there and you're getting, you're using their resources. You're buying their product.
But if I owned a fast food restaurant,
people are adding to our economy.
they are adding to the economy for what they are worth and what the free market demands. And that brings me to my next point. Yeah. If the free market demands it, like right now, they're going to get it. But when there's a glut, you know what? And are you worried about automation?
Am I worried about automation?
Yeah, like Andrew Yang said, because of automation, we need to start a freedom dividend, which I believe 100 years from now we might need to. But are you worried about automation? Because if you start paying these people $15, $20, $25 an hour, you're either going to have a very expensive Whopper or you're going to have a robot doing it. And then he gets nothing or she gets nothing.
Well, supposedly. So in economics, there's the supply and the demand curve, right?
Sure.
And so you know, and supply on supply side, that's our labor, and it's how much they demand, and et cetera. Well, and it kind of keeps up with inflation. Well, over the years, we have not kept up with inflation. So all of the money that the corporations and that they have up at the top, it's not getting reallocated to the people in the form of wages. They're taking it and they're doing other things with it.
But why should they? If they could get the worker for $10 an hour, that's what that person's worth. I mean, you're essentially not worth any more money than what you can demand without being fired.
Because the money's not going back into the business. The money's going into offshore accounts. So it's not going back into it, and so
that's a presumption there. All right, good debate. Right. Got to move on to the next topic. Love it. Right. Man, I didn't know she's going to hold me to that standard. That's a good job. All right, moving on.
It's true. That's what they do.
That's not what they do, but we will pick it back up. All right, so undocumented workers plead for government to include all working families in the next relief package. Apparently, it's not enough just to be here illegally and getting a job illegally, but now that they may be getting laid off, they want you, the mighty taxpayer, to pay. So, reading this, it says undocumented workers and immigrant advocates are calling on the government to include all working families, in quotations, in its next coronavirus relief package after undocumented families were effectively cut out of the government's recent $2 trillion relief bill. Like $2 trillion isn't enough. That's a shame. Say again?
They said that's a shame that they cut them right out of that. You know, the thing is our economy is dependent on undocumented workers.
Only because we allowed our economy to get dependent on undocumented workers. And if we want to, we can fix it.
Okay, so we allowed it to happen. Okay, I'll give you that. Okay, we allowed it to happen. Well, so all these people who have paid in to our system, who are working, who are out there on the fields, and they're providing for our agriculture, why should they not be part of this stimulus package?
I'll tell you why.
We buy their fruit. We buy their product. That's their labor.
All right, so let me respond real quick. The reason why is this. Let's say that a police officer turns a blind eye at 5 miles per hour over the speed limit, right? So what does everybody do? They go 5 miles per hour over the speed limit. Mm-hmm. Now, when the cop pulls you over, do you expect them to hand you a reward like maybe not monetary, but a junior cop badge? No. You expect to get your hand slapped and moved out and all that stuff. These people came to the country. I don't blame them for coming to the country. I've said it many, many times because I would have done the same thing. We have turned a blind eye to it, but we need to punish employers for hiring them during the good times and the bad. If we need to reform our immigration system to allow more H-1Bs or whatever to come in, that's fine. But if they come in and calamity happens, you cannot expect the legal mighty taxpayer to not only allow you to stay, but to pay you to stay. We are essentially paying you to cut in line and break the laws. Go ahead.
Well, we've been eating their fruit with cheap prices. We've been eating their vegetables. We've been eating all of their produce. We've been doing all off of their cheap labor. So why shouldn't they be part of that package?
Because if they would have came in on the guest worker program, like they were supposed to, and like millions do. Hold on, let me finish. Let me finish my thought. If they came in legally on the guest worker program like millions do before them, or that are currently there, then they might be able to qualify for that because they're in a legal status. I would be all for that. But if you break the law and you come in the country illegally, not only are we forced to educate your kids under some erroneous Supreme Court ruling, K through 12 education is free for them, we're at $10,000 a year, but now we're supposed to give you a cash payment? I'll give you the last word.
Listen, what we need to do is we need to open up so that they can quickly and easily get H-2A and H-2B jobs.
Agreed.
And now Republicans are so threatened by that they've gutted the programs. Farmers are American citizens. Farmers are begging for H-2A workers for their farms because we don't take those jobs. We don't take them, and they're hiking up the wages.
I can agree.
And so why don't we just be ethical about it? And as they come, you can expedite the visas so that they're not waiting year after year. And it's only 1 out of 4 immigrants who even get a visa after they apply. So why don't we quickly get them in, quickly get them through our doors, and then we can take them, we can put them on farms, and we can give them jobs, and then we can keep track of them. I mean, it's a win-win for everyone. I don't understand what the problem is. If our farmers,
I'll tell you. Well, hey, let me go ahead and respond real quick for the sake of time. I'll tell you the problem is that what you just described was a legal process. Most farm owners, especially agri-farms, tend to be like the Koch brothers and stuff. They tend to be Republicans, so of course they would want more visas and all that. So to say that Republicans are scared of that, Republicans are not scared of immigrants. We're not scared of that. Well, we are a rule of law party, and we say come the right way, and we will reward you with an awesome job, awesome opportunity, and the American dream. And if need be, you will be a part of the bailout package. But if you're not here legally, I'm sorry you don't get here.
Beautiful. That sounds wonderful, but that's not what's going on. That's not what's happening. Otherwise, they wouldn't be begging for the positions. They would already be filled.
Do you think Democrats really care about illegal immigrants? Or they like Republicans, or like any politician, they're just trying to stay in power, and they look at them as undocumented voters?
Democrats have a lot of problems, and I call myself a progressive. I think that Democrats have a lot of problems, but I think that Democrats do care more about the little person than Republicans do. Absolutely. You
are crazy. I think we care about all people. But, all right, moving on. Take a sip of wine.
Oh, I will. I'm going to take a gulp.
The gulp. All right. This one, Utah's largest, this right here is a case also of sensationalist news to me. Utah's largest medical provider announces pay cuts for doctors and nurses amid the coronavirus pandemic. If you read about it, you're at first pissed off. You're thinking, what? Why would you do that? But they're not cutting the pay of the emergency room doctors. They're doing it of like the plastic surgeons, their nurse, because elective surgeries and outpatient care is down, rightfully so, because we don't want to. Yeah, they're actually cutting those, and what they're saying was, hey, we want to keep you on the payroll. We want to make sure that you still have stability, but yes, we're now cutting down to about a 30-hour week, even though you're not even working 30 hours. Patient load is down and they're not working the hours. Those that volunteer to go on the front lines, doctors and physicians, because an MD is an MD, they can help, then they're actually getting their full pay. Do you think that's unfair?
I think that they should have, I think that if they can reallocate them, then reallocate them and put them in, but I think that this is a prime example of why capitalism is turbulent. I mean, if they had a union, if we had Medicare for all, or if we had a single payer system, we had something in that arena, then I don't think it would be this turbulent. I think that this is
right.
Because, I'm sorry?
Did you hear that? Yeah, you're right. Because each doctor would make about $60,000 a year, and that's about it under Medicare for all or in that. The physician reimbursement rates are so low. That's the only reason why it stays even halfway solvent.
Because nobody would go to med school unless they paid them.
You're talking about free market capitalism. Yeah. So when I was in Germany and I had a major surgery, I had the chief of gastroenterology who assisted me because in the military, the government direct pays the German hospital if they end up getting a soldier. And so they loved having us come. So we'd get the greatest care. And he basically explained it to me. He said, and this is, of course, back in 1999, but he said the average physician coming out of med school made about $40,000 a year. So, he had, in fact, a lot of the physicians will get out of med school and try to come to the United States where they can make a lot more.
40,000 U.S. dollars?
Yeah.
Or 40,000?
Well, back then it was German marks, but it's pretty much one for one. Bottom line was that, if you do that, then what kind of medical system would we have? Would we have had a medical system in place to even take care of the coronavirus?
Well, how come Germans don't stop going to med school then? I mean, why don't they do something else if they're getting paid so low? I don't think
there is a doctor shortage. I mean, but that's everywhere. So I can't attribute it only to pay, except for to say that he said their best and brightest physicians end up in the United States.
Yeah. Well, if they come to the United States, the thing is listen, healthcare why do we not privatize 911 and the fire department? Because we don't want it to be weird. We don't want turbulence. We want to know for sure that when we call 911, they're going to be there. We don't want to screw around. We don't want to, depend on different companies. And so our medical system needs to also fall into that arena. I mean, we don't want to have a turbulent healthcare system. You just said in your last video, or I think it was your last video, no, not the redneck one, the one before that. You just said that healthcare in this country is way too high.
It is.
And that's capitalism for you.
That's not capitalism. That is called socialist countries who are getting their pharmaceuticals way too cheap, and the government interfering with insurance to the point to where now everything's hidden. What we need is price transparency and to bring the cost of medicine down. Definitely not to publicize it, but to keep it private.
Right? So we need regulation?
We need to remove regulation on the insurance agencies.
Well, if we're gonna, in order to put price caps on things, we have to regulate.
We're not going to price cap anything. Let me be clear. What we're going to do is end the price caps in socialist countries and telling them, hey, you have to pay fair market value because we're basically subsidizing all the R&D costs for you to have cheaper drugs.
Well,
do you think the Veterans Affairs, minus mine, I don't mind mine so much, but the Veterans Affairs overall, you think that's a great medical system?
I think that it's an underfunded medical system.
Oh, I would say underfunded.
This is what we get for not paying the VA. This is exactly what we get. We get this half-ass, and it's always your guys' example, and it's, this half-ass system. Well, it's because we're not funding it. If you don't fund something, I mean, it's
fine.
If you don't
do you think the Bureau of Indian Affairs health system is a good health system?
Which system?
The Indian Affairs health system.
Indian Affairs?
Yeah, they get free health care.
I don't know enough about the Indian Affairs health system.
Yeah, it's bad. Anything? Do you think going to the Secretary of State in Michigan is a good experience?
It depends on where you go. They have a lot of kiosks now, make it a little bit simpler.
Do you think the government can handle that large?
Why do you send your kids to public school? That's also a.
Do you think the public schools, in comparison to private schools or homeschool kids?
Oh, absolutely. I have special needs kids. There is no way you could pay me to send Ben or Hadley to a private school. Absolutely not. If you have a special needs child, you keep them in district.
What percentage of children are special needs, truly special needs? I'm not talking about.
I don't know. Autism's on the rise. I mean, they're getting diagnosed, more and more. I mean, I have 2 in my own family.
But you have one in your family that's highly functional.
One out of 39 or 1 out of 47. It's always changing and going. But
I'm talking about truly special needs won't be able to function in a regular school.
For Hadley, I looked it up a couple of years ago, and for Hadley, it's about 1 out of 250 children.
There you go. So the 200, let's just say 200. Go ahead.
But but listen, I sent Benjamin to a charter school. His first year was for kindergarten. It was the worst experience. And Benjamin is not truly special. He's an Aspie. He's a smart kid, but he's awkward.
For the audience, what's an Aspie?
Yeah, Aspie is short for Asperger's. And so he's a bright kid. They could not handle Benjamin because of his behavior. They put him in the back of the classroom. They weren't, which, usually they're trained in preferential seating. They usually take the kid who's a little bit, different, put him in the front so that the teacher can kind of regulate him and take care of the other. They put him in the back because he was disturbing the other children. This
is at a private school?
Yes, this was at a charter school. It was part of the National Heritage Academies in Grand Rapids. And so, because Grand Rapids is known for their charter schools. And it was the worst experience I've ever had. I sat in meetings and had to ask them 6 different times why Benjamin wasn't allowed into an assembly. And finally I pulled him out of there, homeschooled him the rest of the year, and then had him repeat kindergarten the next year. And he's been great ever since. And when I sent him to public school, he had a trained teacher who knew exactly what to do with Benjamin, put him in the front, and he has year after year excelled.
Okay, so do you think Detroit public schools, Flint public schools, Cleveland public schools, Baltimore public schools are doing a great job educating the kids? Or would you blame that more on the parents?
I think that it depends on the teacher and it depends on the classroom.
Okay.
Bottom
line, there's nothing yet.
I've had terrible teachers in 5-star programs, and I have had excellent teachers in inner city crappy schools. And do you think teachers' unions protect bad teachers? Do teachers' unions what?
Protect bad teachers?
Sometimes they do, but they kind of have to in order to protect the good ones.
Okay, so we can't get too deep into this because we've kind of taken it. My point, and we of course can agree or disagree, like on every topic, is that the government doesn't do a lot very well. If the government pays the private sector to do it, a fair thing, then yes, it usually gets done really well.
How come all these European countries are so happy? The citizens report happiness. If you do statistics, when they did statistics on France, on all of these countries, the citizens are so happy.
Because they can afford socialism, full socialism. They can afford it. Socialism is a pipe dream, and if they
it's supposed to make us miserable. We're supposed to, it's communism light, But
if
these countries are so happy.
If these countries are so happy, then let them pay for their own military and quit depending on us paying for it. Let them pay fair prices for their socialism. I guarantee you, when their taxes go up to where it's supposed to be, they wouldn't be so happy because we would have to pay those brunt of the taxes. All right, moving on. This Navy commander, he had sounded the alarm. Navy expects to relieve captain who raised alarm about COVID-19 outbreak on aircraft carrier. The Navy is expected to announce it has fired the captain who sounded the alarm, citing loss of confidence and trust and ability to command. The firing is expected to be announced in a briefing by Acting Secretary of the Navy Thomas Modly. Was he a hero looking out for his sailors by releasing that information, or a person who rightfully should get fired for giving away OPSEC to our adversaries? And for those that were in the military, by the way, both Natalie and I were in the military. OPSEC is operational security. Certain things we don't want the enemy to know, like, hey, a whole carrier group is coming down with coronavirus. What do you think?
Sounds like somebody's in trouble.
Yes. I think that Congress has provided a way for people to blow the whistle, and that way is to contact your intelligence committee or your congressman, because they cannot punish you for going to Congress. And he should have said something, hey, I don't feel like the commander-in-chief is taking this seriously. We are on an aircraft carrier. People are living in bunks and very tight quarters without airflow. We're getting sick. I'm afraid sailors are going to die. There were other ways that this commander could have handled it. What do you think?
I think so, too. I don't know. That one is touchy because you can see how it could happen,
Yeah, I think the smart thing to do. It's dishonest, but he could have had somebody else leak it, And then if the media does their job, and in this case they would. If this was Obama as president, they would have ignored it. But since Trump's president, they would have went after this story with a fervor, and then somehow blamed Trump for instituting coronavirus on the aircraft carrier somehow. And
Trump had to comment with the coronavirus. Nobody trusts him about the coronavirus because of
really? 60% of the country disagrees with you because his approval rating for a coronavirus response has been up to 60%.
Because he's been handling it well. Yeah, the last couple of weeks he's been doing really well. I approve too. But before, at the beginning of it, April 12th is coming along, Nathan. Remember we were supposed to be up and running by then?
He was a little optimistic, but that's part and parcel of being a businessman. They're always overly optimistic. Yeah, just like big government liberals are overly optimistic.
Well, that's bad leadership, though, because you have to be a straight shooter with your people. Give them the bad news and just let it happen.
I say give them hope. what Obama ran on. All right, moving on to a funnier story here. In a certain country, India, they're just not. Oh, hold on. Let me see what's going on here. They're not playing around. Hold on. The video is going to be playing here in a second here. Come on. Come on. There we go. He's getting spanked with canes. And now they're doing squats. The police are making them do squats for a punishment. Oh, man. I don't know what this punishment is, Natalie, but they have them bent over where their head is between their legs and their hands are on their head. And now they're making them do push-ups. Reminds me of the military.
Yeah.
That was the cure-all for everything. Hold on, let me get out of here.
You know, but it's really only the Army that does the push-ups and the, smoking you.
Yeah.
Even the Marines don't really do it.
No, they mostly just yell and cuss a lot at their Marines. But yeah, it's the Army that does that, and they moved away from it too. Because the thought was that, hey, it's better than having to do paperwork. It was a win-win for the soldier, physical fitness, and they'll learn their lesson without having to get pay taken away or liberty relieved. But I thought that was hilarious. I mean, these guys, it's literally just, he was grabbing them just like a father would and just whooping their kid, father back in the day. Hilarious in my opinion.
Well, there's an underdeveloped country for you.
Socialist country too, by the way.
No.
I think that's the only way socialism would work. Can you imagine if that happened in our country, though? How the optics would look? It'd be horrible.
Yeah. Well, and then, we're a first world country without a caste system.
Well, it was only 20 years ago that, you turned on an episode of Cops and you couldn't believe, they would never get away with what they do then. Today, they would never get away with that. Because they would take out their little billy club and beat you to the ground, even on Cops,
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Like the old school Cops, man. You look at that and how they talk to them.
That would never happen now. Absolutely.
Because everybody's
out on cameras.
But Cops had a camera on them. They just thought it was cool. They thought it was just like normal policing, You just pull them out and you beat them around a little bit, throw them to the ground as hard as you can.
Do you think that was okay?
I don't, because I'm a constitutionalist. I believe that the police have a role, and their role is to use just as much force it takes you to get you to court and in front of an impartial judge.
Mm-hmm. Do you believe it? Do you think that that police should? Oh, yeah, that's a different subject for a different day.
Different day, because we have about 30 seconds left.
I was going to get into racial disparity, but I don't think we have enough time.
No, but that's why you're going to be a permanent co-host, because we will carry that conversation on. All right, thank you for joining us. Go ahead and mute your mic, because I am going to do the final thought. This final thought is awesome, and I love it because I like the final thought. It's one of my favorite segments on the show because it gives a good-hearted story to leave us. Cop gives doctor a mask instead of ticket after stopping her for speeding. A police officer who pulled over a doctor for speeding let her go with a warning and handed her 5 N95 masks instead of a ticket, she wrote in a Facebook post. Lead-footed cardiologist Sarash Ashraf Janjua wrote that a Minnesota state trooper stopped her for speeding on I-35. Janjua of Massachusetts handed over her license. Basically, she goes to that state once a month to volunteer. She's there to help with the coronavirus. She was fully expecting a ticket. Apologized. Not only did he give a warning, but when he went to give back her license, she wasn't looking, and he handed her something big and looked down. It was 5 very much needed N95 masks. Kudos to that cop. I believe that sometimes you do have to have some empathy when it comes to it. Hey, thanks everybody for joining us. And we will see you tomorrow for our final edition of the week. Tomorrow at 9 p.m. right here on Facebook Live and YouTube Live.
This has been Nightcaps with Nate. Please join Nate for a nightcap every weeknight at 9 Eastern here on Facebook Live.